Every day, our world gets a little more connected, but a little further apart. But then, there are moments that remind us to be more human.
Thank you for calling Amica Insurance.
Hey, I was just in an accident.
Don't worry, we'll get you taken care of.
At Amica, we understand that looking out for each other isn't new or groundbreaking. It's human. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. With the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms, Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers. In fact, Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/podcastfree. All lowercase, shopify.com/podcastfree, shopify.com/podcastfree.
Well, hello there, oral enthusiasts. That's A-U-R-A-L, not O-R-A-L. Get your mind out of the gutter. Actually, maybe keep it there. This is Aparna Nancherla, welcoming you to another episode of Too Hot for Radio, a decidedly non-visual story hour in which actors perform short stories that would otherwise get the shit bleeped out of them on public radio. I underscore the idea that we're an audio show, a feast for the ears, a sonic smorgasbord, a cochlear cornucopia, because today's story is about another storytelling medium, movies. It's true, these days visuals often trump sound when it comes to fiction. Listening to a story means we've got to do things the old-fashioned way. That is, stop outsourcing our imagination to filmmakers and TikTok and make those pesky mind pictures ourselves. Of course, all of us imagine our own lives as movies. Maybe we think of our lives as more disaster movie than rom-com, but still, we do it. And thankfully, we don't have to think too hard about it. Movies are formulaic, and that predictable quality is not always a bad thing. It's reliability that allows us to turn off our minds and let 90 minutes pass by while we half chuckle at Adam Sandler solving a murder or whatever. This brings us to today's story by Tim Jones-Yelvington. Jones-Yelvington is an artist and drag performer who is also a prolific writer. They have written chapbooks, a memoir, a young adult novel, and 2 collections of short fiction. Don't Make Me Do Something We'll Both Regret, and This is a Dance Movie. And the title story of their collection is all about movie cliches, how we might play with them, and the kinds of connection we hope we can achieve in telling our own stories. And after the reading, we'll be talking with Jones-Yelvington about the story and their many other art projects. But before we get to it, keep this content warning in mind. Warning: Brett Favre. Fervery? Anyway, remember how your opinion of the former Super Bowl champ changed once he allegedly misused millions in welfare funds to build his daughter a volleyball arena? Well, okay, we didn't know this until we Googled his name, but now that we all know, your opinion of him will not have improved after this story. It will be read by the writer and actor Ryan O'Connell. His book, I'm Special and Other Lies We Tell Ourselves, was adapted into the Netflix series Special, in which he starred. His novel, Just by Looking at Him, came out in 2022, and he has appeared in recent series, including the reboot of Queer as Folk.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's more than just a house. It's your home, the place that's filled with memories. The early days of figuring it out, to the later years of still figuring it out. For the place you've put down roots, trust Amica Home Insurance. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
And now here's Ryan O'Connell with This is a Dance Movie by Tim Jones-Yelvington.
This is a dance movie. This is a dance movie. Teenagers are dancing. They are popping, locking, tutting. The teenagers must stay loose, stay low to catch each step, to roll from beat to beat. The teenagers must be careful not to overemphasize the downbeat. One teenager, a boy named Robert, is dancing down the street. Robert is practicing. He is snaking his arm. He makes it fluid, shoulder, elbow, wrist, or tries several times. The audience feels his pain. The audience knows Robert must master this move. Robert and the other teenagers must win a competition. Robert in particular must win this competition in order to get a scholarship. No. The girl. No. Laid. Robert must get laid. I mean, this is a dance movie. Robert must get laid by a deadline. To win a bet? Possibly. In this way, this dance movie is also kind of a teen sex comedy, except this comedy isn't so funny. Or maybe it's funny. It's sort of funny. Its funniness depends upon the audience's appreciation for Schadenfreude. The problem is Robert is likable, making it harder to laugh at his expense, or rather likable to certain viewers. Robert is likable because he's pretty, making him likable to girls and gay boys, this movie's target demographic. Most teen sex comedies are about ugly straight boys. Critics rave about these movies because being ugly straight boys themselves, they identify with their protagonist. But this is a dance movie, and this is a dance movie montage. Robert and the other teenagers, all of them pretty, each prettier than the last, are dancing in a lacquered gymnasium. At first, they dance shitty. As frames change, their outfits change, the seasons change, their dance improves. Robert executes a complicated combination and smiles like a Tiger Beat pinup. His smile says, "Pin me up." Oh, this is Decker dancing beside Robert. Holy crap, this movie is poorly edited. You should have already known about Decker. You should have met him before the montage. Decker is a sportsman. Decker plays football. Nope. Basketball. Nope. Lacrosse. Decker nets balls with his stick. Like real-life athletes, Decker's cut and virile, only with more symmetrical features and way better skin. Decker's in the dance montage because Decker joined the dance team. Decker joined the dance team because it looked good on his transcript. No, the coach said it would help his coordination? Nope. He likes to dance. It's true, Decker likes to dance, but don't tell anybody. Decker is macho, yo. Because this is a dance movie, Decker moves like something smooth. Like liquid? Like butter? Like a snake? Yes, Decker's got moves because he moves like a liquid butter snake. Decker curses the audience, the girls and the gay boys, with fantasies of sex they'll never have, not with bodies shaped like his. Decker's got secrets. For instance, Decker dreams about boys who look like Robert. Decker pins their faces to his bedroom wall. He pins them underneath other pictures of famous sportsmen so his parents won't see. At night, he unpins one. He holds them in his hands to kiss his face. Okay, so look, this is a dance movie, you're right, but also it's a gay coming-of-age romantic comedy. This is why Robert is so likable. He's the likable every boy lead. The gay boys in the audience like boys like Robert because boys like Robert are just like them, or so they tell themselves. They are boys next door, not too femme and not too butch, not too facky. Lovelorn boys with sparkly eyes. "I'm a Robert," they'll say on their way out of the theater. "So what are you?" Now, because this dance movie is also a gay coming-of-age movie, Robert and Decker will fall in love. But, I mean, you already knew that. I mean, hi, look at the fucking poster. And because this dance movie, this gay coming-of-age movie is also a teen sex comedy, maybe they'll have sex. Or hold hands, which, since they're gay boys and this is a dance movie, is like practically just as good. At the beginning, Robert is gayer than Decker, but by the end, Decker's gayer than Robert. After the big dance-off, after the best of the dancing, Decker will chase after Robert screaming, "You gave me courage, you stupid faggot! Now it's time to return the favor!" Except Decker won't say faggot, obviously, because that shit would never fly. I mean, this is a dance movie. In a scene shot outside the high school building, Decker asks Robert to teach him to dance. Wait, huh? Isn't Robert still learning himself? Maybe not after all. Maybe actually Robert's the expert and always was. And what about Decker? Isn't he a liquid butter snake? Well, maybe not yet. Maybe snakes come later after Robert shows him how. That way, we'll get more montages. Robert showing Decker, Decker's arm on Robert's torso, Decker's breath on Robert's neck. Later, Robert is running. He is running, dancing. Oh, what a feeling, a dancing run. He is pumping his fists like, yas, yas, yas. What's got Robert so excited? Maybe Decker kissed him. No, he didn't. Holding hands, never fucking holding hands. Maybe Robert aced his quiz. What quiz? The quiz his mother told him he needed to ace if he wanted to stay on the dance team close to Decker. Yes, Robert and Decker, they're going to encounter obstacles, many obstacles, but we know they'll always find each other because this is a dance movie. Now, this is the dance movie's coming out scene. Don't roll your eyes. I mean, we're going to have one, don't we? If we're serious about hitting every beat. Here's a close-up on Robert's mother after Robert says, "Mom, I'm a total fag." Her hair painstakingly matted, red but graying at the roots. Maybe we see her eyes beginning to tear. Or maybe she's all flinty, rigid lips and sucked-in cheeks, portrayed by an aging veteran. And holy shit, this actress is underrated. Remember how she carried that sitcom in the 70s? Robert's mom says, "Ever since your dad left, I've been working around the clock. If only I'd been around more." And Robert says, "No, Mom, no, it's nobody's fault." Or maybe instead Robert's mom goes all P-flag poster mom and says, "No shit, congratulations, what took you so long? Now can I buy you a motherfucking drink?" Then maybe it turns out Robert's father is in the picture after all. And maybe Robert's mother says, "Let's not tell him yet. Let's give him some time." Or maybe it's not Robert's dad. Maybe it's Decker's. Decker's dad, himself a high school lacrosse champion, passing on his legacy. His trophy and photo in the high school case, staring Decker down. Or maybe he failed. Maybe the night before the big game he had a terrible accident and Decker's a second chance. "Dancing?" he says. "What do you mean you're fucking dancing?" But then later, there he is, Decker's dad walking into the gymnasium just in time for the grand finale. Decker dances with Robert, dips Robert, spins Robert, carries Robert aloft, and Decker's dad watches, clapping, claps, "That a boy, that's my boy." This dance movie is not without its antagonists, like Patty, the musical theater queen who covets the dance trophy for herself. Patty is Jewish. No, she's not. She's blonde. No, she's not. She's a redhead. She's definitely a soprano. Even though she doesn't actually sing in this movie, we can totally tell because she keeps a photograph of her idol, Patty LuPone, pasted and framed inside her locker. She sabotages Robert and Decker by spreading olive oil all over the soles of Decker's dance shoes. Well, luckily, Robert's got a spare pair. Patty is honestly probably an aggressive stereotype, but without bitches like Patty, who would all those gay boys in the audience identify with? I mean, privately, secretly, when they're not pretending to be Roberts. Maybe Patty wants Decker for herself. Or maybe it's Robert she loves. Oh my God, maybe Patty and Robert are actually best friends since grammar school. "You've changed since you met Decker," Patty says. "I organized a John Hughes-a-thon and you didn't even show. Is this what you want," she says, "to change who you are for a boy?" It's like, yeah, babe, that's exactly what Robert wants. Are you okay? Meanwhile, Decker's got his hands full with his best bud, Kyle. Kyle's on the lacrosse team, says lately Decker ain't been on his game. Asks, did dancing make him soft? Decker forgets Kyle's graduation kegger because he's busy practicing with Robert. Oh my God, and this is also the night Robert and Decker have their great big fight. "It's not that complicated," says Robert. "You either want this or you don't." And Decker says, "You don't understand. It's not that easy for me." And Robert says, "You think it's easy for me?" Then Decker goes to Kyle's, but he's already too late. He missed everything. Kyle's sitting on the stoop with a beer and a glare, all, "Well, look who decided to show his face. Why you gotta do me like that, bro?" But everything is resolved in time for the big performance, and Patty and Kyle, they're in the audience, seated at either end of a row of folding chairs. They're bobbing their heads and they're clapping their hands, watching Robert and Decker's pas de deux. Now, they're eyeing each other across the row, and Kyle's smiling and Patty's smiling. And, oh, how perfect, how cute. Why didn't anybody think of this sooner? The teenagers will dance into the sunset by twosies. Everybody happy, everybody smiling, because this is a dance movie. Now, somebody's mother will, of course, find porn in somebody's room. Or maybe both mothers simultaneously. Maybe Robert's mom and Decker's mom. Maybe they'll both find stacks of naked dudes under their son's bed. Nope, 2 on the shaft. In their son's dresser? No, no one does that. Drawer in his backpack? No. Between the tattered pages of his diary. Sorry, his journal. Even Robert's a little macho, yo. In the back of Robert's closet, Robert's mother finds a life-size cardboard cutout of the actor, Taylor Lautner. I know, crickets. Taylor who? It's that boy from the Twilight movies. No, the other one, the random werewolf. Yeah. Robert stole the Taylor Lautner cutout from the video rental store where he works part-time, and he works at a video rental store because he loves movies. Robert loves dissecting movie plots. Yep, he loves recognizing those tropes. Am I a trope, he wonders, examining his bopped and tiger-beaten face in the mirror. Sometimes, alone in his room, Robert imagines Taylor on top of him, behind him, and outside, out the window, the moon is rising or fall. And Taylor, well, Taylor's changing. Taylor's haunches and they're growing hair. And Taylor's full on humping. Now Taylor growls and he nibbles, and Robert's never seen those movies. He's never read those books. Robert hates vampires. But Taylor, look at him. How even though he's Anglo, his color's kind of caramel, and his lips and his body, so big, so built, so fast, so young, so bulging beneath his skin. His skin's so soft. Oh, fuck. Robert fantasizes he's walking into the men's section of a high-end department store, and a man selling perfume says, "Can I help you find your scent?" This man is played by Taylor Lautner. I want something off the beaten path, Robert says. Something you wouldn't think to recommend to somebody like me, but then, when you hear me ask for it, it totally turns you on. Taylor Lautner, the perfume man, touches bottles. Blue bottles, green bottles, bottles with graceful necks and bulbous bases. The camera captures the department store's overheads glinting off the bottles, intercut with Taylor's chin, Taylor's fingers, Taylor's lips. Taylor says, "Let me smell you." Thrusts his nose in close. Now, Taylor's leaning. Taylor's smelling Robert. Robert's smelling Taylor. Taylor grabs a bottle and sprays Robert, sprays beads of odor all over his face. "Wolf musk," Robert shouts. "Spray me with your wolf musk." Ah! Robert watches a video on YouTube, Taylor Lautner on a television talk show. Yeah, Taylor loves football. Yeah, he tells the host Brett Favre was one of his favorites. "Weren't you once an athlete yourself?" the host reads off his teleprompter. "Why, yes," says Taylor. "I was a martial artist at age 8. Robert pictures Taylor, bare-chested, karate-kicking Brett Favre. "Hi-ya!" And Brett, blonde and big and scruffed and broad, grabs Taylor's hips and spins him. Ooh, Taylor falls, Taylor rolls, gets gravel all over his chest. Taylor rolls onto his hands and knees on top of Robert. Oh God, Robert's lying on the ground now. He's on his back. And now Taylor's on top. Taylor's rubbing dirt and grit and gravel all over him and in between. And meanwhile, Brett Favre looms. He menaces. He mounts Taylor from behind. He pushes inside him. And Taylor's howling. Taylor is drooling. Taylor slobbers all over Robert's face. "Help me!" Taylor's screaming. And Taylor pushes his tongue into Robert's mouth. And then Taylor's mouth is at Robert's ear saying, "Save me!" Robert holds Taylor so tight, he thinks his ribs might crack. He kicks at Brett Favre, tries to kick him off Taylor, and Taylor's shouting, "Save me, hold me, I promise I'll never leave." Now, this is a dance movie, or Robert hopes against hope it will turn into one. He stays up late every night to finish his homework. He tries to focus on equations, but instead, he thinks about boys. Robert plus B equals happy. Solve for B. If this were a dance movie, it would all add up. If this were a dance movie, there'd be his solo, the climax, applause, kiss, kiss, kiss. Hurry up and catch him before you lose him forever. But maybe this is a dance movie after all. Maybe tomorrow he'll learn to dance with Decker. Decker in his uniform, Decker the lacrosse player, Decker scores. Everywhere he goes, Robert sees another Decker. Blonde Deckers, dark Deckers. Deckers wearing hats, Deckers in the locker room, Deckers in homeroom, Deckers in the hall. What if he's already met Decker, the real Decker, but he's been too busy noticing Deckers to notice. Maybe Decker, his fated Decker, will be played by Taylor Lautner. Maybe there's a key hung from a string rung around Decker's neck, and it opens Robert's insides to lather them with happy. Maybe Decker will carry perfume because this is a dance movie. This is Robert, a boy in a bed watching a movie. This boy named Robert, the movie he's watching is a dance movie. This movie is a dance movie. He recognizes its moves. This boy is moving. His toe is tapping. He wants to move like the boys in this movie. He wants to shimmy. No. Tango. No. Gyrate? Touch. Who is this boy? I am this boy. You are this boy. We might as well all be named Robert. And we are moving. We are learning our moves. I am trying to reach you. We are trying to dance.
Hi, Tim. Thanks so much for taking the time to do an interview. Yeah. First question, pretty basic. Do you have a favorite dance movie? You don't have to say Magic Mike, but
Oh, yeah.
if you do say Magic Mike, you don't have to explain further either.
I think probably my favorite dance movie is not one that's all relevant to the tropes in the story, but it's The Red Shoes, the Pressburger Powell.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a big fan of
yes.
like great camp classics that are also high art, and
Yeah.
that's high up there for that. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that one really haunting. This is a dance movie, such a wonderful story, and it clearly has a lot of affection for these movies that are its source material. Do you feel like there are particular pieces of pop culture you were maybe hoping to pay homage to that sort of celebrate queer culture versus trivializing it?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of it is like, it's sort of just dealing with the positive and the limiting of like the fantasies that get instilled in us from like dance movies in particular, but more broadly, just like romantic comedies in general. And there's the whole section of the story that gets into like a lot of the tropes of like queer and gay romantic comedies. And so I think there's something limiting to all those scripts that obviously the story's pushing back on, that the character's dealing with and pushing back on, constantly rewriting and himself or themselves into the story. What stands out to me is just like how much agency there still is there to take those texts and reappropriate them and bring something into them that's much more specific and weird and particular and queer than maybe what's there in the most mass mediated version. So it's like critique and love both, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, this again, more fun question. If you were cast in a dance movie, what role would you be drawn to?
Oh gosh. These days, it's hard not to feel bound by my age, but I think that's not all bad thing to me. Like it's actually seeming appealing. Like I think I would want to be some like mentorship role to the younger character.
Ooh,
and it was also one that's, maybe gender non-conforming and kind of expansive and fabulous in some way, is that kind of elder figure. Yeah.
Bringing that wisdom, that universal wisdom. Yeah. This story, for example, but much of your work has really fun and challenging shapes, like with this one, with the narrator writing and rewriting their own movie and then revealing themselves at the end. Did you kind of come to that structure ahead of time, or were you kind of discovering it as you wrote?
Yeah, it's different for different work, but I think this story was very much kind of more improvisatory and discovering as I wrote and reacting to like the last thing kind of. I remember this coming and, it's been like more than 10 years now, I think, since I wrote this. But it's one of those moments that's very memorable in terms of like, whole language and sentences just like coming to me fully formed, like while walking down the street, and like needing to get them down like right then so I didn't lose them. And then it kind of accumulated over time. There was a point where it was like, this doesn't feel like it's done enough yet, or it's done yet, and whatever the next sort of morphing was, the next transformation was, kind of just kept suggesting itself to me based on whatever it came before.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it feels like in hearing it out loud, it like you feel that like urgency in yeah. So definitely that came through very strongly. Is there anything that inspires you to write about pop culture as a whole? I mean, it's pretty much ubiquitous. It's like the water we're all in, but is there anything about it particularly right now that maybe is calling to you or jumping out to you?
Yeah, I think my angle is always a queer one, and it's sort of like the space of where a collective or community culture is forged by talking back to the pulp culture in some way, or like how we're in a more collective relationship to it. So I think it's that, I mean, I know there's, in fiction world, the literary world, there's all sorts of conversations about, whether to engage pop culture or in what ways. But I think my angle is forging something queer specific.
Yes. Speaking of which, your alter ego, Tin Tim, is billed as the first drag queen public intellectual. For those who haven't seen you perform, can you explain a little bit how that intellectual element informs your drag?
Yeah, well, that came from, there was a period in like the mid-10s or early to mid-10s when I was like a weekly YouTube commentator, specifically on episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race, because that's what drew the audience, but like other topics too. So, and it was part serious, part joke. I didn't really mean to. I was in grad school at the time, and not for anything at all like cultural studies related. It was like, it was for youth development in the College of Ed at University of Illinois at Chicago. So it was much more about nonprofit program development and evaluation. But I happened to mention that I was working on homework that day for grad school in the first video I made, and people started calling me a scholar, and I was doing, something more analytical, I guess, than what you would normally see at that point. Now I think there's been a big growth in people talking in smart and political ways about TV in general and Drag Race specifically. But at that point there wasn't a lot, so I kind of like ran with it as a persona.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. In addition to performing and writing poetry and prose, you're also an activist. Is there one of these things that's calling to you more these days?
It's an interesting question. I would say a lot of my practice, especially outside of my paid work right now, which is also kind of social justice and social impact related. But a lot of my outside of work practice right now is more grassroots-based activism around police and prison abolition issues in particular, often with a queer intersection. I started volunteering within the last year with a group here in Chicago that's called Pushing Envelopes, that works with current and formerly incarcerated queer folks with an abolitionist perspective. I started a discussion group at a co-work space I'm a part of. That's actually been a sort of deliberate move in the last couple of years. I've had felt like I was armchair theorizing my beliefs more than I was really practicing them, and wanted to be more in like community with people that were engaging in work together of some kind that way. And in terms of writing, I think I've been moving toward finding some way to bring my creative practice more into direct relationship with that kind of work, but I don't know exactly what shape that's going to take yet. I have one project I've been working on that involves more of those concerns and grappling more with some of my call around that and some more of my like lived experience as a young person and flex it too. But I'm also, I think, interested in how my creative practice can serve organizing more directly, and have been in it for a long time without knowing, without having a clear path there. And I think I'm starting to think about some ways of what that might look like.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Okay, so hard pivot for this next question. As a writer, you do write about sex in this story. That's why we featured it, but you write about it very well. Do you have any tips for first-time writers trying to write sex?
I don't know. I just think there's like plenty of this is an important thing to write because it's an important experience and a lot of people write it well, but I just think there's plenty of like literary fiction in particular that writes about sort of alienation and in sex or just sex that's bad and disconnecting in some way. And I think I've just never been that interested in that. So it's how to like write into like real desire that's concrete and kind of, I think for me, it's a language-based thing. I have to find a way to have a relationship to the erotics of sound or something that's less about content. Some of my favorite sex writing that I've done doesn't even make sense in a sort of traditional way on the page. It's maybe like more in the almost poetic space, but I think that helps me find a more embodied relationship to text or something.
And then, Tim, I just have one last question for you, since our audience are all big readers and appreciators of literature. Do you have any recommendations for short story writers that you've been into lately or discovered as of late?
One favorite collection would be by my friend Megan Melks, called, the current iteration of it's called Slug on Feminist Press. Great sort of weird queer trans fiction. I knew it in an earlier iteration called Kill Marguerite that's now out of print, but Slug is basically the same collection with a few tweaks. It's been one of my favorites for maybe for many years now. Another great collection I'd recommend is called Moonflower, Nightshade, All the Hours of the Day. That's also very queer, by J.D. Scott. For folks that are drawn to, kind of magical realism or other types of fabulism in fiction, it does some really interesting things with that.
Yeah, it's a great title. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and for writing the story. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. That's that. I hope that the movie that is your life is now funnier, smarter, more nuanced, and has a lot more dancing in it. Our show is produced by Jennifer Brennan and Mary Shimkin. Our podcast producer and editor is Colleen Pellissier. This episode was recorded at the Getty Center in Los Angeles by Phil Richards. Matthew Love is our consulting producer. Our theme song is by Poddington Bear. I'm Aparna Nancherla. Thanks for joining us for Selected Shorts, Too Hot for Radio.
Every day, our world gets a little more connected, but a little further apart. But then, there are moments that remind us to be more human.
Thank you for calling Amica Insurance.
Hey, I was just in an accident.
Don't worry, we'll get you taken care of.
At Amica, we understand that looking out for each other isn't new or groundbreaking. It's human. Amica, empathy is our best policy.